Since we got 5 new mercenaries that have come out recently, we got the 4 new pirates and the 1 cookie murloc boy. I decided to do another tier list for you guys in case you guys were curious on my updated opinion on the meta, as well as the new mercenaries, where they lie. If this is enjoyable for you and you like Hearthstone Mercenaries, might I mention you also look absolutely fantastic, you should probably subscribe, and that would mean a lot to me. You should also like the video. Let's do this. This tier list will be probably a lot more accurate as I've gotten a lot more time with Hearthstone Mercenaries and playing with a bunch of new characters. So this tier list might be my best one so far. So I hope you guys stick around and watch the whole thing, so you get some insight on why I think characters are good or characters are not good. Starting off, let's start off with Uther. Now, Uther in my last one, I believe, was around C. Uther, I still think isn't inherently that great. The only composition that he seems to really work in is maybe the Holy Comp. And with the equipment where he gives his other characters Divine Shield, it is pretty good. You basically can taunt yourself against like a Samaro, give them Divine Shield, and you might be able to actually kill a Samaro without them killing the rest of your Velen and Anduin. And because of this, I actually think he's high C to low B, but I think I'm going to put him in high B unless I change my opinion. So Edwin was the only legendary, I believe, granted to us for these new mercenaries. I might be completely wrong on that. I shouldn't say that out loud, but regardless, it's in the video. And Edwin is kind of this weird case of the reverse Samaro because of his first ability. He doesn't need someone to proc the first ability off, but doesn't do nearly as much damage as Samaro and doesn't gain as much stats. He does get life back, which is nice, but why get life when you can just deal more damage and kill something? The one thing Edwin does have going for him is the pirate synergy. But because of how good the pirates currently are, I don't think Edwin is that great at the moment. I will still be trying him out and trying to make sure he can be, good. But I think at the moment he's about C tier. He's definitely not awful. And again, the nice thing about Edwin is there is a lot of potential and he's just a good mercenary on his own. But unfortunately, yeah, he's not super great. Bricon is actually one of the reasons why the nature comp is quite good. The benefit of Bricon is that he not only has muddy footing, which can slow down and mess up people's synergies with the Samaro, but on top of that, he just does a lot of damage. It gives an extra nature ability for healing. So Bricon is definitely in low A for me right now. I could see him high B, but I think at the moment, I think nature is pretty great. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to run nature, to put him in. Ratherion at the moment, I don't think demons are still that great. Demons just don't do enough. They're too slow and they don't really have a great setup potential regardless off the bench. So at the moment, I think they're still D. Mutinous, I was hoping they would get a little bit better with the new Murloc, the cookie, but unfortunately they needed like kind of like a protector Murloc for this to be really good. I don't think Mutinous is inherently that bad though. He does have a lot of good individual abilities and Murlocs are definitely not as bad as the demons at the moment. So I'm going to put Mutinous probably low C. He'll probably be the lowest C unless I think otherwise. Tyrion for me, Tyrion's honestly been a little bit of a disappointment and it's kind of unfortunate because I really do like what Tyrion provides into a game. The one problem with Tyrion is that Tyrion is basically there to counter Samaro and you want him to die as fast as possible because on average you're using the equipment that gives +8/+8 to the rest of your party in bench, but it just doesn't seem to do nearly enough. Now I think if speed manipulation slows down a little bit and we have a little bit more time, Tyrion gets a little bit marginally better because he could bring more utility, but I think at the moment he's like a high C character. Saurfang is one of the reasons why orcs are good. The more I get to play with orcs, the more I'm starting to realize that they kind of need something else because Ricara's not super great and Garrosh is good, but again, it doesn't really beat the caster opener right now. Like Samaro just does a better job, but I don't think Saurfang is inherently that bad and he's probably going to be a low B. Like he's definitely not the worst. Xyrella was notoriously the S tier mercenary right at the start until people realized there's even better synergistic aspects with the Blade Master Samaro. People really thought that Xyrella was going to be this overpowered nonsense, but turns out she's just pretty decent and nothing too special. If you get rid of Blinding Luminance with like Lich King, she's kind of just a bot and that's what makes her so bad. So I'm going to put her probably high C or low B. We'll put her low B for the time being. Okay, so Sneeds, I'm actually really optimistic on. I played Sneeds for a little bit, got a little bit of a test, and because he can actually do quite a lot of damage early on, and the equipment that makes him start with activated Saw activated is very strong, and you could do a lot of damage because you just hit the middle mercenary and it just does damage to the friendly minions. I think Sneeds is actually a high B, and I'm going to continue playing with Sneeds and trying to make him good. He's really good into this fighter meta right now because he could just kind of solo Samaro on his own and not take any damage, which is the main reason why I think he's so good. Like he doesn't actually have to take damage to deal damage as a protector, and that's pretty great. Garrosh, I'm a huge fan of Garrosh. I really like what Garrosh is able to do. And I think Garrosh is one of these characters that will get better once the reincarnation on Karen is changed. I think at the moment, Garrosh is probably like a low B, probably definitely better than Xyrella. But at the moment, like he will probably maybe even go to an A after the reincarnation is fixed, but we'll see. Okay, Illidan was my prized child from day one. I really, really, really wanted Illidan to work, but I think he's a D. I've tried so hard. He's just a bad Samara. Like he just doesn't do enough. I think maybe with more synergistic aspects for Illidan, he could get better, and he does scale quite a bit, but he just doesn't do anything special. And the fact that you have to kind of attack the left or right most mercenary just doesn't feel great. So that kind of sucks. Cornelius, if he had a turn 1 taunt, he would be like A tier, but he doesn't have a turn 1 taunt. What he does have is a lot of utility, and he works really well into a holy comp, but I think he's like a C. I don't think he's actually dog. Like, I don't think he's garbage, but I think he's probably like a C. I would probably gonna remove Xyrella down. Every time I look at her, I get kind of sad. Brightwing is really cool utility, has the potential to really escalate the late game with the buffs that she provides. I've never used phase shift once, which is the ability that swaps her for another mercenary, because I don't ever want to do that. I feel like swapping your mercenary out has just never seemed good. So you're basically just using Brightwing for the extra bonus stats and the healing that she can provide. Now, she is good in nature, which I think would make her a little bit stronger, but she's probably high B. I think Brightwing has a lot of potential as well. As more mercenaries get added to the game, she could be very strong, just provides more life. Maybe there's some combination between Brightwing and Illidan we just haven't tried yet, but at the moment, I don't see it. King Mukla, I used to think was absolute garbage. I think in my last tier list, he was a C. I'm going to put him in A. I think King Mukla right now with the rest of the beast comp is one of the best things you can be running in the game, because a lot of people are running these shadow builds. King Mukla kind of says, no, stop that. You're going to die. And I think that's where King Mukla is so good. Antonidas, I wish this was a PvE combination because he would be right here. But the thing with Antonidas is that he's just not good enough. Now, I think there may be more synergistic aspects that people have not tested out with the fire comp. But again, the problem is Samaro really keeps that in check, and you kind of want to run Ragnaros, Antonidas, and Geddon. So maybe you can get away with it with going like Antonidas and Geddon in a taunt. But like, is that better than Shadow? No. Do you want that instead of Shadow? Probably not. So at the moment, I think Antonidas is like a C. I think he's a little worse than probably Cornelius. He's probably around here. Well, we might change this around. Millhouse. The problem with Millhouse right now is that he doesn't have enough synergistic aspects, and he's just literally a worse character than majority of the characters in the game. Like, he has some cool abilities. His last ability, the Greater Arcane Missiles, is too slow, and that's kind of an issue. He does have ramp, but he doesn't have ice block, which makes him just worse than Jaina. So he's probably like a D. I wish he was better, man. He's cool. Malfurion, nature comp is pretty good right now. Probably just an A. Don't really have to explain. Fits really well. Proc Samaro, does well with Bracon or Guff. Big fan. Karen, let's be real here. He's going to be S. Now, I know people are going to ask me in the comments down below, so I'm just going to say this. Once the reincarnation is fixed and changed, if you did not know, right now, the interaction between Karen and reincarnation is that if you Q an ability, but his reincarnation is procced, Karen still gets to proc his ability or use his ability. They are changing that, so if you kill him for reincarnation, he does not get to Q that ability anymore, which will probably bring him down to a high B or a low A. But right now he's an S tier. He's one of the best mercenaries in the game. Like, you should probably have him. Grom, Keck W, garbage. Grom doesn't have anything for him really in PvP. He's too slow, too wonky, just not a character you want. Okay, Alex, I'm really optimistic on Alex. The more I look at Alex's kit, the more I'm like, oh, she's got some stuff there. The problem with Alex is that Alex does not have enough dragon synergies and enough basically mercenaries that really use her kit to her advantage. She is probably one good dragon from going from like a D to a B, but at the moment she is a D tier. Jaina, S tier probably, or maybe really high A. The thing with Jaina is like, Jaina is so good because of ice block. It's basically everything I talked about Millhouse, but like just better, because she scales, she has a lot of damage, she has an ability to make a taunt, and she has ice block. Like, she has everything you want. So I want to put her in S, but I don't think she's on Karen's level. I think she's in A. Manaroth, again, same idea with demons. I don't think demons are just good right now. Manaroth actually has some really cool abilities, but at the moment, just not there. So it makes me kind of sad. Blade Master Samaro, easy A tier. Just one of the reasons why you should be playing the game. It's amazing how good his kit really is, whether you want to use the Burning Blade or the Sash to get more mirror images. Both are completely fine. Works really well with nature, fits into a lot of different compositions. He's just a really good character to have. Tyrande, same major issue with Millhouse, has a lot of potential, but just is too slow. And the fact that one of her abilities is literally 2 random targets is not good. I think if Tyrande had the same idea as Varden, where they just scale back the damage a little bit and then just let her hit all 3, she could be a lot better. But the fact that it's random, you don't want that. Okay, I think Scabs is very underrated. But the problem with Scabs, again, is like he's just the worst Blade Master Samaro. The one cool thing with Scabs is that you can attack someone, go stealth, and then next turn you could do a max Wicked Stab, which I think is very powerful. But how often is that really going to work out for you? Probably never. There's just better fighters in the game. So he's probably a D as much as I want to put him up in C. Prophet Velen works really well in the Holy Comp. Basically, him and Anduin are good on his own. He is definitely an A tier at the moment. Voon was looking really good for a little bit there. Habu Gubu, or whatever the hell his name is, made a comp that procs Samaro, and then basically you just start with all 3 fighters. But then people started to realize that that comp's not that great because it's very easily counterable by literally any protector. So, and it's not that good against beasts. So Voon probably goes down to B. I think Voon is still very strong and he could do a lot of damage. And the fact that his dragon does like 50 damage one turn with the Wind Fury equipment, very strong. Sylvanas is nowhere near the level of Diablo. And quite frankly, the more I play with Sylvanas, I'm starting to realize how little I like her. Now, she does get a little bit of a boost because of Vol'jin, but I think right now she's low B or high C. I'm going to put her in low B. I think she's worse than like these two for sure. She's got so much potential. But again, like if you think about the late game right now, Diablo just does a way better job as a closer. And that's what you want. Thrall is really interesting. Again, I thought Thrall was going to be one of the best mercenaries in the game by far, just from looking at his kit. But the problem with Thrall is that he just doesn't do enough. Now, I will say this. If fighters ever become very popular, Thrall kind of just jumps up a lot because of the fact that Thrall just one-shots people. So maybe Thrall off the bench is what you want to do. But again, I just don't see it at the moment. I think Thrall is probably around here. I think Thrall is just like, he has so much potential. And the fact that he can one-shot a fighter, because when he starts off, he has the Doomhammer plus the extra attack, and then he gains 5 attack with his first ability, which means you're doing a lot of damage to one fighter and you could basically one-shot them. That's very good. Kurtrus, cool character, honestly, will get better eventually, just like most of the demon slayers or the demon interactions, but at the moment, just not good enough. There's a little cute thing you can do with I-Beam, which you heal a bunch of damage off Diablo, but doesn't really seem to pan out, unfortunately. Varian, I think the human comps are just not good right now. With more humans, it could be better. I almost wish that Edwin was a human to make that comp better, but I think Varian is down there. Jaraxx, same idea. Demon, not good. Don't want to play demons. Morgal, I think he's better than majority of the people in D, so he's probably high D. I would even consider putting him in like C with Mutinous. The thing with Morgal is that he works in a nature comp, and with the equipment, the Task 7 one, you do get extra health on your other carries, so maybe it's good. I'm not sure. Mr. Smite. Now, Mr. Smite is very interesting because the thing with Mr. Smite is that his kit is catered to deal with 2 different things. One, he has a turn 1 taunt to deal with Samaro, and I think that's very strong. And also, we haven't looked at Diablo yet, but he actually has a pretty good combination of abilities to deal with Diablo. The problem is that with Karen right now, Smite is not good against Diablo because speed manipulation is too important. Because if he gets slowed down and then Karen speeds up with Diablo, you don't actually get to use the ability to basically beat Diablo. So we're probably like D, or like maybe a low C. We'll probably have better than this. Yeah, he has potential though. Like I think once Karen gets changed, he might bump up a little bit. But for the time being, yeah. Rag is extremely powerful right now, A tier. The reason why Rag is A tier, maybe worse than Jaina though. The reason why Rag is A tier is because the main idea is to basically either one-shot the enemy Diablo, or you basically just provide extra damage or extra health on Rag and then stop him from getting frozen, which is a very strong thing from Varden. But generally speaking, I like him a lot for just one-shotting Rag, and that's the whole reason I use him. Ricara, oh God, I tried Ricara so much, man. I think the problem with Ricara is that she just doesn't have enough in her kit. She really relies on Orc, and I think her middle ability that buffs characters while they're attacking is really cool. Just too slow. It's just too slow because it's a cooldown. It just doesn't add up. Maybe there's more synergistic aspects here. I think she's a low C, but I'm gonna put her in high D. I think she's a little bit worse. Anaconda, just a C. Nothing. She's not bad. She can do a lot of damage against casters in nature, but there's just better options. So probably around here makes the most sense. Lich King. Lich King was actually really good last patch, or like not last patch, like last metagame, where people were really focusing down Samaro. He might get a little bit better though with more Samaro around. So I'm going to put him in high B. But I think at the moment, like, he's just not that good. Like, you just don't, I don't know. It feels like he doesn't do enough because a lot of the time, if you're playing Lich King and you're going against a composition, it just doesn't do enough. I will say if you can max him and you go against a lot of nature, he is very good because you kind of ruin Malfurion's whole idea. Crush, again, I think he's A tier now because King Mukla, King Crush, and Rexar all together are just very good. That combination one-shots a lot of casters, and if you need to one-shot some casters, go for it, my dude. It's pretty nuts. Blinkfox is probably a high A to an S. At the time I'm recording this video, Blinkfox is a little bit bugged, but hopefully when her bug fixes come in, she'll still be around A. The problem with her right now is that basically what happens is when you pull Blinkfox off the bench, you're never starting Blinkfox. When you pull her off the bench, she gets the first ability or the last ability your opponent played on the first turn. But instead of refreshing the turn after, it stays with that first ability and it kind of ruins Blinkfox. So like she's like low A right now, but Blinkfox is still very, very good. Geddon, same idea, man. I think he's a little bit better than Antonidas. He's probably a high C because he actually has more synergistic aspects than Antonidas does. But again, the problem is like, it's not better than Shadow, so why are we even playing it? That's like the main issue I see with it. Old Merc guy, same idea, just low C. Murlocs, wish they were better, but unfortunately for us, Murlocs aren't that great at the moment. Maybe with a Protector Murloc, they get a little bit better, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Anduin, right there up with Velen. Maybe even higher up, to be honest. I think Anduin's more like here. Anduin is like the reason why you're running that comp, and I have done a lot of videos with Anduin and played a lot with him. Really like him, really frustrating. He can solo games at the end. I think Anduin is very strong. Diablo, let's get real here. The Kings up at the top. They're like in every single combination. It's just too good, man. Like they're just too good. Come on, gamers. I think once Karen's reincarnation gets changed, then Diablo gets indirectly worse. Because of they can't just always rely on Karen. Now you can focus Karen and Diablo just gets worse, where now it's like you can't focus either of them because it's just frustrating as hell. Tavish, actually think Tavish is probably high A, if not S tier. Tavish right now is really good against the caster meta. He has a lot of health, and the fact that he can stack traps is really good. Just a really good character. I want to put him up here, but I don't think he's on par with these two, so he's probably like here. I think Jaina might be a little bit better, to be honest. Somewhere around there. Really easy. Guff is the same idea as the nature one. I think he's probably worse than Brook. I mean, he's probably on par with Brookon. Probably around here. Actually, he might be slightly better. Brookon's probably slightly better. Probably like this. Generally now, people are running like Samaro, Brookon, and Malfurion as an opener. So, I mean, Guff's kind of cut a little bit, but it should be okay. Then we have Tenzin. Tenzin is a shadow comp. She's very good. Low A for sure. I'm just going to put all the shadows except for Vol'jin. Vol'jin goes up here. Where's Natalie? So Natalie goes up here too. So Natalie's probably like here. I think Tenzin is probably around here for me. Maybe a little bit. No, she's probably there. So I got to compare them all together rather than like separate because you're not really running any of the shadow compositions without Natalie or without Vol'jin, I should say. So Vol'jin's obviously an A tier. I'm really tempted to just put him up here because he's that insane. You know what? We're going to put Vol'jin up there. I think on his own, he's an S tier. Natalie is so good with her task 7 equipment. Let's get real here. She can do AoE. She works really well with Vol'jin with the Samara opener. And on top of that, Tenzin is also just good to set up Vol'jin and vice versa. Just overall, shadow comp is fantastic. I think Natalie is better than Tenzin, but they're both very, very good. Gul'dan. I remember people memeing on me because I disagreed. But problem with Gul'dan, he just doesn't do enough. Like he's so slow. He's the slowest person on the planet. He has a lot of health, but God, he's garbage. So probably around here. Yeah, he's just bad. Okay. I want Eudora to be better. I really do. But the problem with Eudora is that she needs her cannons to be buffed in health. They don't have enough life and they just get one shot by so much. They die to Explosive Trap. They die to Vol'jin's AoE. They die to Diablo. They die to like any AoE virtually. It just doesn't do anything. So you need the equipment that makes her start with a cannon. But even then it's like, her last ability is so random too. I don't know when you would ever want to use it. It's not bad, but like, yeah, I don't know. I think she's low C. I would even put her down here. I don't know. I mean, I'll put low C. She's probably better than Murlocs if I had to say, but same idea. Yeah. Okay. So Gruul, we recently saw that Blizzard put Gruul as the best character in the game. I'm just kidding. The thing about Gruul is that he has the fire resistance against Diablo's AoE, which can be very powerful. The problem with this is that generally speaking, this is so one-dimensional. And if you're not going against Diablo, he goes from like A to like D. So I'm going to give him a little bit more and just put him at C. Maybe even worse. I don't think the fire resistance is ever that good, and he'll just get dramatically worse soon. Rexxar, same idea with the beast comp. Right, where the hell is he? Right there, easy. Beast comp good. Play beast comp, it's nice. Cariel, not great, probably D. I would even put her low C, I guess. We can put her harder than Merlux. She does have a turn 1 taunt, which makes her better than like Cornelius, so sure. Cookie. Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Cookie. I really like Cookie as a character. I think Cookie's really cool. Problem with Cookie is that his kit is so garbage outside of the equipment. Like, I never want to play anything on his kit. It just feels so weird. Maybe I'm playing him wrong, but I don't think I am. I think Cookie's fine though. Like, people will play him just because of the equipment, and I think that makes him probably about here, probably around here. But yeah, super mediocre kit. Varden, obviously, we don't really need to talk about it. Varden is probably going up here. Maybe even here, probably around here. But yeah, this is the kit. This is my tier list at the moment. I think generally speaking, I don't think a lot of it's going to change. I think Karen's interaction fix will actually change up the meta quite a bit, because if Diablo becomes not as popular, then and I think if he gets nerfed, Vol'jin goes up here. So I'm curious to see where the metagame goes. Let me know what you think of the tier list, and I hope you guys had fun. I'll see you in the next one.